Hello. I'm doing something weird today. It has to do with this folder that I have here on my desk. And I'm going to be vulnerable. I was diagnosed with a learning disability as a child. And I think this is interesting to talk about as a guy who is professionally smart on the internet. I don't know. The learning disability I was diagnosed with no longer exists. It was called sensory integration dysfunction. Today, if I were a child, I probably would be diagnosed with something else, and then my sensory processing difficulties would be a symptom of that thing. And the something else I would have been diagnosed with would probably have been ADHD, along with maybe some autism spectrum stuff. So the diagnosis I had would probably be a feature of another diagnosis that would be more familiar to us today. But I have here my folder that we had, the folder of stuff that my parents kept about me and what I was up to and what I could and couldn't do from the school system. It looks like the school system did a pretty good job of handling this. I appreciate that this is the public schools of Orange County, Florida. So this is my referral from the school, and this is my write-up from the occupational therapist. And I feel weird about this a little bit, but we're just going to go into it. So I've got my reason for referral here. I entered school during 85-86, so this is second grade. His teacher reports that Hank is disorganized, has difficulty attending in class, and is often distracted. So, I mean, look, what's that but just ADHD? Reading and math skills are above average. Hank still reverses letters and numerals. Oh yeah, I've mostly gotten over that, but PE teacher has indicated that Hank's lack of attending skills impact his performance during games, and Hank has difficulty with fine motor tasks, including jumping rope. Chronic history of physical restlessness, difficulty focusing attention, and lack of organizational skill. I'm in second grade, okay? The occupational therapist here says Hank's academic abilities are above average, but fall significantly below his ability level, according to an evaluation. Well, Hank was very pleasant, cooperative, and interactive. He became frustrated while working on the more difficult pencil and paper tasks, but with verbal encouragement, completed each item. As he appeared to be putting forth his best efforts on all tasks presented, the results of this evaluation may be considered accurate. Oh boy, Hank exhibits low muscle tone throughout. Not throughout anything in particular, just throughout. And has co-contraction of his head and neck, which is vital for stabilizing the head while working on fine motor tasks. Hank is experiencing difficulty in fine motor development. Hand and forearm movement, definitely poor, as was serial thumb finger touching. I can do it now. You know, we're working on stuff. It's hard on the left hand. Hank is a 7-month-old boy who is presently exhibiting deficits in muscle tone and co-contraction, automatic equilibrium reactions, reflex integration, bilateral motor coordination, gross motor development, and fine motor development. It is very likely that he would benefit from ongoing occupational and physical therapy programs assigned to enhance his deficit areas. Additionally, a home program of activities will be given. Hank has difficulties with visual motor integration, eye-hand coordination, and tracking across midline. I mean, but I found something absolutely crazy as I went through this. So I found this in a box. My parents had given it to me. I'd never gone through it. I started looking through it. I'm glad that I have it. It's very interesting. But I'm going through this, and I find this, and I gotta tell you guys, I've gone through my entire life, and I've been asked this many times. People have been like, Hank, do you have ADHD? You seem like you have ADHD. And I'm like, I don't know what I've got. I was never diagnosed with ADHD. But whatever I've got, I've learned to live with it, and at this point, I like it. Well, that was a lie, because here we have my ADHD diagnosis. Students scoring 8 or more on inattention and impulsivity meet the behavioral criteria for attention deficit disorder without hyperactivity. Okay, so just ADD. I mean, it was the 80s. I don't know how things are done now, but this is how it was done then. Students scoring 8 or more on inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. Oh, there's a second thing. Meet the behavioral criteria for attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity and should be referred to their medical doctor for the possibility of medical intervention. Some ADD students who are emotionally withdrawn will not meet criteria for impulsivity, but should still be referred. And I'm looking at this to make sure that there's nothing on here that I shouldn't show you. I'll cover up the teacher's name, though I loved her. Not because I didn't love her. She was one of my favorite teachers. I scored below an 8 on 3 of these things. On 3 of the 10. And I scored exceptionally high on hyperactivity. Interestingly, my parents scored me higher on almost everything than my teacher. This is extremely sweet. This is like a printed on a computer. That was just what my mom wrote, but then she printed it out and then she has done some edits so that she can retype it and then reprint it out. And then at the top, and I don't know what this means, but at the very top of it, it says, "You were right." Somebody was right. I don't know who. But somebody was right. But my point is, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And looking at this, I met the criteria for, at the time, what would be called ADD with hyperactivity. Now we call it ADHD. And here it says they should be referred to their medical doctor for a possibility of medical intervention, which never happened. And I asked my mom about this, and they were like, oh, Hank, your other problems were so much more severe that didn't seem like a big deal to us. And reading through this, I don't necessarily get that feeling. You know, reading through my test summaries, I'm scoring fine. Like, I'm not scoring at average on all of this stuff. I'm below average on some things. But I guess my like motor problems were so significant that that's what I was going to the occupational therapist to deal with. And my sensory problems and my overstimulation to sensory problems, which all, to me, sound like I might have been placed on the autism spectrum. Though, like, if I look at the categories for autism spectrum, maybe I had most of these things then. But I've taken autism spectrum tests as an adult to be like, am I an adult with autism? And like, no, I don't. I test like way outside of the range for autism spectrum disorder as an adult. That does not mean that I would have tested outside of it if I was given the current diagnostic tests as a child that they give now. Those tests did not exist back when I was a kid, so I wouldn't know. But what I always say is whatever I have, I think it's great. But yeah, here is the little handbook about what sensory integration is. A new dimension for occupational therapy and developmental delay as seen in motor, behavior, language, and learning problems. Sensory integration is the child's ability to feel, understand, and organize sensory information from his, my goodness, body and his environment. Such information is received through the sensory systems, which include vision, touch, smell, taste, and hearing, as well as systems for knowing about gravity, position, body parts, and movement. I had, and still have, very bad handwriting. I took a very long time to learn how to write with my hand and was punished for this in school in certain classes. How do I know if my child has a sensory integrative problem? Overactivity, frustration, withdrawal, or aggression, distractibility, over or under reaction to sound, touch, or movement, difficulty adjusting to new situations, excessive fatigue, speech or language problems, delayed motor skills, learning or academic difficulties, poor coordination, or poor balance. You could see a lot of this as being what we might now put right on solidly inside of the autism spectrum. As the child develops better sensory integration, he, apparently this only happens to boys, shows increased ability to organize his behavior, improved perceptual motor skills, hand-eye coordination, relation to objects, space, and better language. As the nervous system is more receptive in the young child, treatment is more likely to be effective at a younger age. So I was really lucky to get this occupational therapy, even if, like, who knows what's up with this diagnosis now or how well it is respected among occupational therapists today. But the stuff that we did was good, and I had great tutoring, and it was work. But I also think just like there's an amount of like this thing is delayed while this thing is racing forward, and that to me makes sense to some extent. That like if like a lot was going on in my brain that I wouldn't have great control over my body. And yeah, I guess by the time I went off to like middle school and high school, I did not have as many of these attention problems, and so never got assessed for ADHD again, and was never ended up being medicated for it. And instead I just have like systems for doing the things that I have to do, and also of course creating an entire world for myself in which it is not a problem to have ADHD. I think about this all the time. One of my favorite examples of this is delayed sleep phase disorder, which if I have it mildly, but it's a disorder where your natural body clock wakes you up later and you go to bed later, just like it being a night owl. So it's like different people have different body clocks, and some people are actually night owls. Like if you leave them alone, they'll stay up until 2 a.m. and they'll wake up at 10. That's how I used to be. I don't know what I'm like anymore. I have a child. But the thing is, there are also people who have the opposite, where they wake up early and they go to bed early. But those people don't have a disorder. It's the exact same thing. They have a body clock that is shifted away from the norm. But it's not a disorder because it does not impact them in a negative way. Because you waking up early is fine and going to bed early is fine, and like maybe you socialize less, but it's not a real disorder if it doesn't interfere with work. And in the same way, there's like no doubt in my mind that ADHD in particular is not a disorder, except that the world is not well suited to people who have it. And so I am lucky that I have found a way to be a professional in the world where it gives me advantages rather than holds me back. This is so weird. I mean, it's weird to see like back and how worried my parents were about this, how much work we did, and also how invisible it is to me now. I'm like proud of little me. I'm especially like grateful to my parents and my teachers. Like weirdly like proud of my mom for handling this and for being proactive about it and doing the work to make sure that I was getting my assessments and that I was, you know, like my problems were being taken seriously. And I did test below an 8 in aggressiveness. I tested at a 6 and a 7. So there's that at least. But I also, and this is crazy to me, the thing that I tested lowest on in terms of like I was actually good at this was social skills. So, you know, that's always been the thing that's made me feel like I have ADHD. And when I took this like online autism spectrum assessment, which I know it's an online test, but when I took it, the thing that it seemed like I was like most not like I was on the autism spectrum is that I am very good at reading people's emotions and connecting with them and verbal cues and nonverbal cues and inflection. I'm like, if anything, above average at that. But who knows, of course. And this is the thing about autism is it presents very differently. You know, it is in some ways different things for different people. But I will say that in addition to building a life where ADHD can be a useful trait rather than one that is a disordered trait, I also have over the years used lots of different tools. You know, for like, I have a difficult time reading, so I do a lot of like covering up text so I can only see the line that I'm on. And I know that this makes me sound like a third grader, but you know, I'm working with the brain that I got. When reading on my phone, I frequently like scrolled so that the line at the top is like right at the top so that I'm looking just at the top. And I don't like read down the page. I constantly scroll up to keep my eye so that my eye does not have to move. Which, yeah, when like an advertisement is like, ooh, you're at the top again, I'm going to pop the advertisement down and like cover up the thing that I'm currently reading. It is so frustrating. And I just want to throw that website into a fire. But they don't know. They don't know how I'm using this tool. But when people ask me about Focus Friend and they're like, what, you know, how did you do research to figure out how to like make a good thing here? I had like the only thing is I know how I manage this myself. And I know, one, that I need something that is counting to help me focus. Like if I need to focus, I need it to be counting. I need to have a thing that's happening along with my focus, carrying me through that is external to me. And then another thing, and I don't think this has anything to do with ADHD, I just think that this is like a common thing. It is much easier for me to do something for someone else than to do it for myself. And this is like a huge unlock for me. I've always done this. I make obligations. Trust me, if you matter to me, and I've said that I'm going to do something, and in fact, there's a thing that right now, it's like right in my brain, just know that if I haven't done it yet, I am feeling that weight. And the only way to make that weight go away is to do it. And so it's much easier for me to be beholden to this cat bean that lives in my phone than it is for me to be beholden to myself, which is why I have 3 rooms that are currently totally full and Focus Friend. But you know what? We're going to have a 4th room soon. In fact, look at my friend over here. I have my new room. I already have a bed, but that's all that I have. I need to focus more. Oh my God, there's so many things I could get in here. Oh yeah, that one. I'm gonna get a rug as well, and then I'm gonna get a wall calendar. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to do a little bit of decoration here for sure. You know, there's still some work to do, but it's better. Now, will my cat bean, this is Gummy Bean, will he go and lay on his bed? This is what we've all been waiting for. Yeah. Oh, if he can finally lay down. Crazy thing, The Verge just did like a thing about apps that have been number 1 in the App Store, which is a very small number. It's in the hundreds, including Focus Friend. And they talked to Bria, who developed Focus Friend with me. I'll link to it in the description, though sometimes The Verge is paywalled. We'll find out if you click on it. But yeah, sometimes I feel like the world is built, you know, for the average person, and none of us are average, right? But also Focus Friend is just a little thing that my friend and I helped to create, and now it's out there, helping make the world more me-shaped for me. Also, every time I talk about Focus Friend, I feel like I have to say, we don't collect your data. There are no advertisements. It's free to use. There are some paid features and skins, and that's how we pay for the development of the app, so thank you to everybody who gets those. I don't know. I feel like I spent a lot of my life trying to make my world more me-shaped. And I feel like I've been very lucky in that I have been able to do that. Now, I don't think that I've only done that. I've also made myself more world-shaped. And I think that we're going to all find a different balance of those things, but it's really cool to see the work that my parents did, that my teachers did, that my the occupational therapists did to try and make me more world-shaped, which I think is really valuable. And I think that I'm, to some extent, still at it. I don't think that I have stopped figuring out how to exist in this strange situation that we all find ourselves in. And I'm curious how other people respond to that. How do you feel about the idea of developing tools to make the world fit you better, mixed with finding ways to make you fit into the world as it exists better? And there's probably a lot of thinking about this topic that I am not aware of, because it's not anywhere near my areas of expertise. But it was cool to go through and see what I was dealing with. And now, look, I can catch a ball. I can dance. I have pretty much average muscle tone throughout, which I could ask for nothing more.